Every parent leaves an inheritance, but it's not money, not property, not possessions. It's the wisdom we pass on, truths that guide our children long after we're gone. The world will teach them plenty, but not always what's best. That's why the most important responsibility of adulthood is to plant lessons that shape character, courage, and clarity. Because when life tests them, they won't remember what we bought for them. They'll remember what we taught them. Ladies and gentlemen, think of your own childhood. What do you remember most vividly? It isn't the toys, the clothes, or the fleeting things that eventually gathered dust. What lingers are the voices, the teachings, the quiet lessons passed down in moments that seemed ordinary at the time, but later became the compass by which you steered your life. You see, every adult, whether they recognize it or not, is a teacher. Every word spoken, every action taken, every response to difficulty. These are lectures given in the classroom of daily living. And the students, our children, sit with eyes wide open. They may not repeat back our words, but they are memorizing our conduct. They are studying our choices. They are learning what it means to live, not from what we say, but from what we show. The greatest tragedy is not a child who grows up without money. It is a child who grows up without wisdom. Wealth without wisdom is like giving a sword to one who cannot wield it, dangerous, destructive, and short-lived. Yet wisdom, even without wealth, arms a child with strength no circumstance can take away. A son or daughter who inherits wisdom inherits courage in the face of fear, clarity in the midst of confusion, and purpose when the world offers only distraction. The world outside our homes will not hesitate to teach. It will instruct them in shortcuts, in selfishness, in compromise. It will try to persuade them that possessions equal happiness and that noise equals truth. And unless we are deliberate in our teaching, the world will become their tutor. The most powerful lessons come not from strangers, not from schools, not even from books. They come from the people who raised them. Children rarely become what we tell them to be. More often, they become who we are. If we show them patience, they will learn to endure. If we live with integrity, they will come to prize honesty. If we demonstrate resilience, they will grow courageous. And if we neglect to teach these things, life itself will attempt to, but in much harsher ways. So I say this, to every adult listening, you are writing a manual for the next generation. Line by line, decision by decision, you are handing down lessons that will either guide them toward strength or leave them vulnerable to weakness. You may not leave them a fortune, but you cannot avoid leaving them an inheritance. The only question is, what kind will it be? This is the sacred responsibility of parenthood, of adulthood, of leadership, to teach with intention, to choose carefully the lessons we plant. For the truth is this, our children will not inherit our money as surely as they will inherit our thinking, our values, and our example. And when we are gone, that inheritance will speak louder than our voices ever could. Why teaching wisdom is the greatest legacy. When we speak of legacy, most people immediately think of inheritance, land, homes, wealth, or treasures carefully passed from one hand to the next. But the truth is, no inheritance of material value can compare to the legacy of wisdom. Money may give a child a head start, but wisdom gives them the map, the compass, and the strength to run the race. Without it, even the largest fortune soon disappears. With it, even the smallest resources can multiply into abundance. Wisdom is the thread that ties a life together. It teaches how to think, how to decide, how to endure, and how to rise again after falling. It gives a child the strength to stand when the crowd demands they sit. It equips them to navigate storms no inheritance of gold could shield them from. For storms come to every life, and wisdom is the only sail that can carry them through. Let me share a simple story. When I was young, I remember sitting at the table with my father. After a particularly difficult day, he told me something that stayed with me all my life. He said, "Son, you may lose money, you may lose friends, you may even lose your way for a time, but if you never lose the lesson, you'll always find your way back." That single sentence has been worth more than any inheritance of property or riches. Because every time life knocked me down, those words reminded me, what matters most is not what you have in your hands, but what you carry in your head and your heart. Wisdom never leaves you. It travels with you, grows with you, and rescues you when nothing else can. Consider history. Empires have risen and collapsed. Fortunes have been won and lost. yet the wisdom passed down through stories, teachings, and examples has endured through centuries. Why? Because wisdom cannot be stolen, burned, or buried. It lives on in the minds of those who receive it. So when we teach our children wisdom, we give them more than comfort. We give them survival. We give them the tools to build, rebuild, and rise, no matter what life places before them. Teaching wisdom is not simply a duty, it is the greatest act of love. For while money may last a season, wisdom lasts a lifetime, and often it outlives even that. This is why teaching wisdom is the greatest legacy. It is the one inheritance that grows, multiplies, and strengthens as it is passed on. And in the end, it may very well be the difference between a life that stumbles in the dark and a life that walks in clarity. Core values that build strong character in children. If wisdom is the greatest legacy, then core values are its foundation. They are the building blocks of character, the unseen roots that determine the strength of a life. Without strong values, even the most gifted child will falter when tested, but with them, even the most ordinary child will rise to extraordinary heights. Character is not built in a single day, nor by a single lesson. It is formed quietly, steadily, through repeated exposure to values that shape the mind and heart. And among these values, there are three that stand as pillars: honesty, responsibility, and respect. Honesty is the cornerstone. A child who learns to value truth builds trust with others, and trust is the currency of every meaningful relationship. Without honesty, life becomes fragile, relationships crack, opportunities collapse, and self-respect disappears. But with honesty, even failure is bearable because a man who is honest with himself and others can always rebuild. Responsibility is the second pillar. To teach responsibility is to teach a child that their choices matter, that they carry weight, consequence, and meaning. A child who learns responsibility does not blame others when things go wrong. Instead, they ask, "What can I do to make it right?" Such a mindset creates leaders, problem solvers, and men and women who can be trusted in any circumstance. Respect is the third. Respect for self, for others, for time, for effort. A child who learns respect understands that every person carries worth, that effort deserves recognition, and that self-discipline is a form of self-respect. Respect tempers ambition with humility and strength with kindness. Children do not learn values from sermons, they learn them from examples. They watch how we handle money, how we speak about others, how we treat those who cannot repay us. Every action is a lesson, and when we live these values, we etch them into the conscience of our children. Strong character is not about perfection, it is about direction. It is about instilling values that anchor a child when storms arrive, values that whisper in their ear long after we are gone. Do what's right, take responsibility, treat others with respect. These are not small things, they are the pillars upon which great lives are built. How to prepare the next generation for success and failure. Every parent dreams of preparing their child for success, but the wise parent knows that to prepare them for success alone is only half the task. For life is not a straight road, it is a winding path filled with both triumphs and trials. To prepare a child fully, we must equip them not only to win, but also to lose, and still rise stronger from the loss. Success, in truth, is easier to handle than failure. When doors open, when recognition comes, when rewards flow, even the weakest spirit can enjoy the moment. But success can also intoxicate. It can breed pride, laziness, or a false sense of security, if not grounded in humility and gratitude. That is why we must teach our children that success is not a destination, but a responsibility. Every success carries a duty, the duty to remain humble, to work harder, to use the gain for good. Failure, on the other hand, is life's greatest teacher, yet it is also the most feared. Too many children grow up shielded from failure, protected from disappointment, as though hardship were a thief rather than a tutor. But failure is not an end. It is a signal, a correction, a lesson written in bold letters. The child who learns to face failure with courage will never be broken by it. This is the preparation every child needs. Teach them to celebrate success without arrogance and to endure failure without despair. Teach them that victory is not proof of worth and defeat is not the end of possibility. Both are part of the same journey and both serve the same purpose, to shape them into men and women of depth, courage, and resilience. A generation raised to handle both success and failure will never be undone by either. They will not crumble in loss, nor become careless in triumph. Instead, they will walk steadily, grounded in the knowledge that life's true measure is not how often we win, but how faithfully we rise after we fall. Timeless principles of discipline, honesty, and respect. There are certain principles that never age, never lose their power, and never fall out of relevance. They are as true today as they were 100 years ago, and they will be just as true 100 years from now. Among them, 3 shine brighter than the rest: discipline, honesty, and respect. They are the compass points of character, the steady guides that keep a life from drifting aimlessly in the storms of the world. Discipline is the foundation of all achievement. A child who learns discipline early gains mastery over himself, and self-mastery is the key to freedom. Without discipline, talent is wasted, ambition crumbles, and opportunities are lost. With it, even the most ordinary child can rise to extraordinary heights. Discipline teaches that every dream demands a price, and that price is steady, consistent effort. It is the daily decision to do what must be done, whether you feel like it or not. Teach a child discipline, and you give them the power to command their own destiny. Honesty is the anchor of trust. Trust is fragile, yet it is the most valuable currency in human life. Without honesty, there can be no trust. Without trust, there can be no lasting relationships, no enduring success. A dishonest man may gain for a time, but eventually his gains betray him. An honest man, though he may struggle, walks with a strength that cannot be shaken. When children are taught honesty, not only in words, but in intentions, in actions, in the small choices no one else sees, they carry with them a treasure no thief can steal. Respect is the principle that balances strength with humility. It teaches a child that the world is not theirs alone, that others too carry value, dignity, and worth. Respect for others creates harmony. Respect for oneself creates dignity. Respect for truth creates wisdom. It is respect that stops arrogance from taking root and selfishness from taking over. And respect is best taught not by lecture, but by demonstration. By the way we treat strangers, the way we honor commitments, and the way we show gratitude for even the smallest kindness. I recall a lesson from my own upbringing. My grandfather was a man of few words, but one evening he said to me, "The measure of a person isn't seen in how they treat those above them, but in how they treat those beneath them." That was respect in its purest form, and it never left me. Discipline, honesty, and respect. 3 timeless principles that do not depend on trends, wealth, or circumstance. They are the foundation upon which great lives are built. Teach them to a child, and you hand them the tools to withstand temptation, endure hardship, and walk upright in a world that will often test them. Why true inheritance is built through example, not possessions. Every generation dreams of leaving something behind for the next. Many labor tirelessly to build homes, gather savings, or collect treasures, hoping their children will inherit security. Yet history has shown us again and again that possessions alone do not secure the future. Wealth can be squandered, property can be lost, and treasures can be stolen, but the inheritance of example, of lived principles, of demonstrated values, remains long after possessions are gone. Children rarely remember the price of what we bought them, but they never forget the way we lived before them. They do not inherit our money as faithfully as they inherit our habits. If we showed them courage, they will find courage in themselves. If we lived with honesty, they will cherish truth in their dealings. If we carried ourselves with dignity, they will stand upright, no matter what the world throws against them. A father may leave his son a fortune, but if the son never saw responsibility practiced, that fortune will vanish in a few short years. A mother may leave her daughter fine possessions, but if the daughter never saw kindness lived out, those possessions will not bring her peace. But a life lived with integrity is an inheritance no economic crash can erase, no thief can steal, and no court can contest. Children listen less to what we say and more to what we do. If our actions match our words, we leave behind a legacy of trust. If our actions contradict our words, we leave behind confusion. The true inheritance, then, is not written on a will. It is written in the daily demonstration of our lives. Lessons that shape: courage, clarity, and purpose in life. If there is one gift every parent hopes to pass down, it is the strength for their children to stand tall when life grows heavy. That strength is made of three qualities: courage, clarity, and purpose. Without them, even the most talented individuals can falter. With them, even the most ordinary souls can rise to greatness. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward in spite of it. The world will test our children. They will face failures, disappointments, and uncertainties. They will be tempted to follow the crowd when standing alone feels unbearable. In those moments, courage is the difference between giving in and growing stronger. Teach them that courage is built, like a muscle, each time they choose to act with integrity when it would be easier to remain silent. Each time they attempt again after failing. Each time they walk toward a challenge instead of running away. Clarity is the gift of seeing life as it truly is, not as we wish it to be. Many stumble because they walk through the world blinded by illusions or clouded by confusion. But a child who learns to think clearly, to separate truth from falsehood, to ask what is real, what is lasting, will not be easily misled. Clarity allows them to make decisions grounded not in impulse, but in wisdom. It gives them the vision to see the long road while others are distracted by short-term detours. Purpose is what gives life its meaning. Without purpose, success feels hollow and struggle feels unbearable. A child taught to search for purpose will discover that their life is not simply about existing, but about contributing, building, serving, and leaving the world a little better than they found it. Purpose anchors them when storms come and lifts them when victories feel empty. When we teach our children courage, clarity, and purpose, we prepare them not just for a career, but for a meaningful life. These qualities cannot be bought or borrowed. They must be cultivated. And once planted, they grow into a resilience that no obstacle can uproot. These lessons are not simply advice. They are lanterns. They light the path through darkness, guiding the next generation toward lives of strength, wisdom, and fulfillment. So the greatest inheritance is not locked in a bank nor written in a will. It is etched into the hearts of our children through the lessons we live before them. Wealth may fade, possessions may scatter, but wisdom endures. When we teach courage, discipline, honesty, respect, clarity, and purpose, we give our children a compass that no storm can break. Remember this: one day, the voices of parents fall silent, but their lessons continue to speak. Long after we are gone, our children will face life's tests, carrying either the weight of our neglect or the strength of our example. Choose wisely what you leave behind, for the truest legacy is not in what you gave them, it is in who you helped them become.